Beautiful and amazing people. It is I, Bryn the Valk, and today's co-star is going to be the amazing Smirk Daddy. What is
Oh,
up?
hello. Hello, friend.
Hi, man. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Smirk Daddy was actually like one of my very best friends way back in the day. We used to work together and do all kinds of crazy shenanigans, and it was fantastic, and I loved it.
We did. We got away with a lot.
We did. We used to have all kinds of feats of strength with each other. We got up to all kinds of stupid stuff. She's the one that helped me whenever I pierced my ear in a hospital parking lot with a really bad needle and it got infected.
Yep, we cleaned that out.
It was fantastic. Okay.
Yep.
So, today's topic is queer representation in children's media, why it's super important to have it growing up, and stuff like that. So, for those of you that don't know, because I keep it so hidden, I never talk about it ever at all. I'm trans. I know, crazy. No one would ever guess. No one. And then Smirk here. Do you want to tell them or?
Yeah. Hello, my name's Smirk. I identify as a lesbian, and I have for a very long time. Like I've always known one of those types of things.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Right. Okay, so I haven't done a Topic Tuesday in a little while because things kept coming up. So anyone who's new to Topic Tuesday, how this works is it's purely stream of consciousness, and we just talk for like an hour. That's it. There's no script, there's no anything else. So, Smirk, I'd like to ask you, you say that you've known forever, really.
Yep.
So, growing up, how was it knowing that you're attracted to girls, but you just really didn't see that reflected in anyone else?
I mean, I always felt like it was wrong. Like maybe there was a lot of self doubt growing up.
Mhm.
Um, because everywhere it was hammered, hetero relationships
Right.
all over the place. Like it would, and if you saw anything on television or in a movie or a game, it was all with the norm, like the gender norm at the time was men and women together, and not
Mhm.
women and women or men and men or other like non-binary groups or anything like that.
Right.
So it was kind of scary because I was like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, why do I feel the way I feel? Why do I like I'm a little kid, why do I think girls are cute and guys are gross? Like and everyone's like, "Oh, you'll get through that phase. It's just a phase where you like girls more and you'll get past it. Everyone thinks the other's gross when you're younger." And I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
sure."
Yeah, I've been through the just a phase talk several times
Mhm.
and I get it. Um,
Yep.
yeah, something that always got to me growing up, because I tried to talk about my experience with others, and I tried to talk to them about how, like, oh, I don't feel like I'm a guy. It's not that I feel like I'm not human. It's not that I feel, oh, I'm a girl. It's that I
Right.
hate the gender roles that are put on me, and I dislike
Yeah.
the way my physical body is going to turn out. I don't want that
Right.
body. I want the other body, and I want to be treated the way society views and treats the other. Yeah, there's
Mhm.
sexism involved. That's why I've always tried to champion women's rights.
Right.
There's all this other stuff
Mhm.
going on, and seeing that not reflected anywhere else, it hurt, and it made me feel more and more that there's just something intensely wrong with me,
Right.
and that I just need to
And
be quiet and stay in my lane.
yeah. Yeah, and I remember when we first met, you were very into women's rights and LGBTQ community, like everything. Like you were very like a hard advocate for all of it. And
Right,
you've always been like as long as I've known you.
right.
I think we both feel that it doesn't matter who you are or what you feel is your identity or whatever
Mhm.
you want to label yourself or not label yourself. You be unapologetically you
Right, exactly.
and don't be afraid to be yourself. I mean, make sure you're always safe and make sure you're in a safe environment if you're going to be more yourself because you just never know who's going to be around you, unfortunately. but be you and be proud of that.
Exactly.
Mhm,
Um, so something else I'd like to bring up. So you and I, okay, you used to live where I live, same city, and we had that term
mhm.
that seems to only be here, which is the elder queer. Basically,
Yeah,
any queer person that is like above age 35 and grew up here in the deep south during like the really bad years.
yeah.
You and I are approaching that age where we're going to be in our
Isn't that
30s soon,
crazy?
right? And
Yeah.
you and I, we have communities. You have
Mhm.
your Twitch community, which is freaking amazing. I've only been in it for like a week now, and it's been amazing. I've already made a couple of really good friends. And then I have
Yeah.
Tran, and we both have queer people in these communities that look up to us. How do you
Yeah,
feel about
it's
that?
phenomenal. I mean, when I when I started getting the community that I have, it was
Hmm.
so shocking to find how similar these people were with me. Like how we just identified so closely together and we clicked right off the bat. Like all of us were just super in sync with each other and it was so nice to finally have those friendships where they were queer or an ally even and you didn't have to hide any part of you. You could just be you and not have to hide away because you were worried of what would be said to you or done to you.
Right,
And having those people is just the the way they've helped my mental health in the past year is better than anything I could have asked for. Like, I mean, you were really my only friend who just got me. Like, we
hmm,
both just understood each other on a different level than anyone else in that state, unfortunately.
yeah,
And it was funny to get online and build this community of people all across the country who felt the
right,
exact same I did.
right. Um, I've loved, especially because like so many of my viewers and so many of the people in Tran are these young kids that are in their teens. A lot of them are in their early teens. A lot of the people
Mhm.
in Tran are 13, 14. And then a lot of them are
Right.
also young adults in their very early 20s or are like 19. And it's so interesting building Tran and having, because it's not just transgender focused. The name is supposed to be
Right.
a play on me, the admin who started it, who is very, very queer and trans. Um,
Yeah.
but we have queer people all around the planet,
Mhm.
and it's so surprising how universal all of these feelings are for them.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show, like, no, it has nothing to do with, oh, we were raised on, Ed, Ed, and Eddie and Powerpuff Girls. That's why we're
Yeah.
queer. No,
Right.
it's us. We are just different, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's this one member of my community. She is a young trans woman, has grown up in the Middle East her whole life. She
Mhm.
has not been allowed to watch television, but she is forced to live in everything as a guy, and if she lets anyone know, she could be killed. So for
Right.
her, coming onto Discord, being a part of Tran, doing some of the stuff that she's done, it is a difference between life and death. And her
Yeah.
courage is freaking
Totally.
astounding. 'Cause
That's
she
incredibly
had
brave.
right? And she had no exposure to a lot of the stuff we did, and she spent so much of her life in this culture, right?
Mhm.
And it just really
Right.
does go to show that it really is just us.
Yeah.
And
It totally is.
right? And the thing is they do talk about LGBT people in her community, but it's always demonized, it's always vilified. And
Mhm.
I notice that a lot of older media does the same to LGBT people. Like if you go back to the 80s and you look at any media, even children's media, queer people
Mhm.
are always the bad guy. It's always a
Yeah.
trans person who was the secret serial killer dressing up as some other gender to get through people's,
Yeah.
you know, walls or barriers. It was always the lesbian that was seducing the good Christian
Right.
pure woman and tricking her down the
Right.
bad path for the straight man to come down and save her. You
God.
know,
Yeah.
every
It's so
single
true.
Disney villain.
Mhm. It's true.
It really is.
I mean, we didn't really grow up with any kind of representation, like, that was positive,
Right?
you know? And I think we had to find that somewhere else, and I think through thankfully, through some video games and through some other animes and stuff like that, we were able to find our identities a little bit better. And nowadays, it's nice that God, I sound so old. In our society now, it's
Nowadays, you
nice
youngsters
because
don't know anything.
right? You youngsters don't know what it was like. But it's nice to see that representation becoming more and more normal.
It really is.
Even though it's still a fight, like every single day, it's still a fight. But hopefully, in time, it won't be, as long as we keep advocating for it and
Right?
pushing to have that equality instead of people or parents saying, "You can't watch that; it's going to turn you gay," or "You can't watch that; it's confusing you."
Right?
Like, no, it's allowing them to express themselves in a way that they aren't able to otherwise because you have this chokehold on them.
Exactly.
So,
Um, so sorry, I just had a thought about Disney villains.
mhm,
Um, do you notice how for a lot of the older queer community, those of us that are approaching our 30s or who are past our 30s but still kind of young,
right?
do you ever notice how a lot of us seem to like really hardcore identify with the Disney villains, especially people like Ursula and Hades
Oh my god, yeah.
and it's
I
like we channel
identify hardcore with Hades. Hardcore with Hades.
Same,
He's a guy, you know? I love Hades so much.
right? God.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
loved him. As a kid, I felt so confused because, like, I saw The Little Mermaid and I really wanted to be
mhm.
her. But then I saw
Yeah,
Ursula and I was like, you know what? I can't be
nah.
fucking Ariel. I'm gonna go be Ursula. Fuck all y'all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my fiance is obsessed with Ursula. Like she went as Ursula like 3 times in a row for Halloween. Like I'll have to show you a picture, it's pretty good.
Oh,
But
that's amazing.
she'll if anytime Poor Unfortunate Souls comes on her iPhone or whatever, she just starts getting into character. Her whole face changes and it's fantastic.
Oh, I love that so much.
Mhm. Yeah.
I love it. But
Me too.
yeah, like, I grew up and I saw a lot of the villains, how they're depicted as, like, LGBT, but another thing
Mhm.
that wasn't intentional was if you go back and you watch a lot of the stuff, you can actually really hardcore emphasize with some of these people. Like,
Oh yeah.
I saw this movie on in the break room the other day while I was at work, and I'm sitting here
Mhm.
watching it, and it's an older movie. I don't remember the name of it, but like it was clearly from like the 50s or 60s. Um,
Okay.
and the main character was this basically an anarchist trans dude trying to tear down the patriarchy. And he was
Okay.
like supposed to hardcore be the villain, but the entire time I'm just like, bro got a point though.
Yeah. Like, this kinda makes sense, though.
Right?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And I love it. I love it. And it makes it so much easier for us to identify with these people and be like, you know what? I think they got a point. I think I'm going to follow in their footsteps.
Mhm. 'Cause you found something in that character.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
So let me ask you something else. I want to know
Okay.
if you did this too, because this is done by a lot of my community.
Okay.
So most of my viewers and community are trans, and there's this phenomena where if you like a character, that character automatically becomes trans. That way you can identify more with them. So, oh, Star Butterfly,
Okay.
clearly a trans girl. Here's all the
Right.
signs.
Right, okay.
Did
Yeah,
you
I
do that as
totally
a
did
kid?
that.
Yeah?
Totally did that. And in sometimes in my mind, I would try to identify more with the guy in the
Yeah.
storyline because in my head, I was like, okay, if I identified with the guy more, it makes it better because I'm thinking like a guy and
Mhm.
I'm not thinking like a girl loving a girl or liking a girl or whatever.
Right.
So I would opt like either I would picture the girl as a lesbian or I would try to make myself think like the guy
Yeah.
to make it make sense, you know?
No, 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 I did the same thing.
Yeah.
There are so many times as a kid where, like, I saw these guy characters and I thought, "Wow, I really hate these ones." This is not what
Totally.
I wanna be. I wanna be the girl.
Yeah. And what's funny is even in video games where you got to be either the guy or the girl, I would be the guy
Mhm.
because I knew that if that was the option and there was like some romantic relationship possibility, I would get to be like have a romantic thing with a girl. And I was like,
Right?
I don't want to have a romantic thing with a guy. So I would always choose the guy. Even to this day, I still choose to be the guy because sometimes in games you don't have that LGBT relationship
Right.
option. So,
And I hate it.
me
And
too.
okay, so another question.
Mhm.
I know how different my life would be if I saw an actually well-represented trans character as a child.
Right.
What about you? How different do you think your life would be for the better if you saw a well-represented lesbian character in a children's, cartoon or media? Where it wasn't a
I feel like I
stereotype, it wasn't
yeah.
all this other stuff, it was just a girl being whoever she wanted to be, and
Yeah.
she just happened to like girls, and it wasn't a big deal.
Okay. I feel like if I had that option, I
Mhm.
would be way more confident when I was younger.
Yeah,
I think that I wouldn't be as afraid to be myself and I wouldn't have tried to conform to societal norms at the time like I did. Like I would have dressed the way I wanted to dress. I would have acted the way I wanted to act because I had that role model. And when we were little, we just didn't have that.
right.
We had to follow what we were always taught. I mean, I know my parents, they as much as I love them, they're very one minded. Like
Mhm.
that we were forced to go to church and we didn't have the option to not do that and find our own way.
Right,
And having it beat in our heads every weekend, literally, it felt like every weekend this was one of the topics that was brought up is how sinful it is to be gay or trans or whoever you wanted to be. It was just so sinful to be like that.
right.
And that was so frustrating because I didn't have any other outlet. Like if there
Exactly.
was someone in the media that like in a show or something that I could relate to, I feel like I would have been a lot happier than what
Mhm.
I was.
I agree. Um, Part of my major problem was growing up, I didn't know what these feelings were, and whenever I
Mhm.
tried to describe them or talk about them to other people, I got looked at like I was bizarre, weird, crazy.
Right, like
I
there was something
remember
wrong with you.
exactly, and I remember once I was hanging out because as a kid, I tried to hang out with girls, and
Mhm.
it got me made fun of a lot. I got bullied a lot as a kid for multiple reasons, but
Mhm.
one of them in particular was my femininity. And I remember I was hanging out with
Right.
this group of girls once, and I said to them, "God, I wish I was a girl." And instead of, saying anything supportive or saying anything like, or anything, they
Right.
hardcore got upset. They started
Oh my
talking about,
god.
like, how bad periods were, about how I need to be happy, like, I'm not the target of sexism, all this other stuff. And it just made me feel worse and worse and worse and so terrible about myself. And of course, it spread through the school after that.
Oh, totally, because people are so conniving sometimes.
They really
They
are.
can be so evil. They would rather and I think a lot of it stems from that insecurity.
Right,
Like, I think they're so insecure with themselves because they aren't able to explore who they are. And so when they see someone kind of getting to that point, they're like, "No, I'm shutting this shit down."
right?
Pardon my language. Like, I'm
You're
I'm
good.
not gonna let this happen. You
Right,
know, like I'm gonna make sure that they feel bad because I feel bad. And
exactly.
I'm sorry you went through that.
Oh, no problem at all. I'm sure you went through pretty similar stuff yourself.
Oh, totally. I was totally bullied in high school with it. Like people were so horrible. Like one person in particular who I thought was my friend, who, funnily
Mhm.
enough, was secretly in a
Mm,
relationship with another girl, but she decided to start rumors about me because she didn't want people to catch on to her. And I was like, If this is what it takes for you to feel fine, I'm okay. I
right,
don't care what you do. I don't care what you say about me because I know who I am. I'm not going to out myself because I don't need to, but it was hurtful that it was someone who I thought was a friend who decided to do that to me because they didn't want people to see her as that.
Right.
So I get it.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, as a kid, I didn't know what dysphoria was. I didn't know a lot of other stuff.
Mhm.
And whenever I
Yeah.
did meet Abby in high school, who was a trans, well, is a trans man, though
Mhm.
leaning towards a more non-binary trans man, that's
Mhm.
whenever I started to realize this is an option, and that terrified me. And I
Oh,
actually
totally.
used transphobia in the form of transmedicalism in order to push myself more into the closet, to prove to myself that I can't really be trans. Like, look at how
Mhm.
much suffering he's having to go through with his dysphoria. Look at how much it
Yeah.
hurts him. Look at how all this other stuff. You know, clearly I'm not hurting that much. Clearly I'm not going through any of this, so I can't be trans. The
Right.
entire time not realizing that the reason I wasn't having the similar stuff to him is one, we're all different, and two,
Mhm.
because I was so depressed and numb that I just couldn't feel anything.
Right.
And now that I'm on HRT, now that I'm living happily, yeah, I'm a lot more depressed and a lot more other stuff, but that's because I can
Mhm.
actually feel my emotions for once in my life. And I have
Yeah.
never been happier than I am today. For the first time in my life, I want to live and I want to take care of myself and I want to be happy. And I have never felt this before, and it's fucking amazing.
I'm really proud of you. I mean, I remember years ago when we were working together, and you're just a completely different person. You seem so happy and so yourself and so confident in yourself. And I really love that for you.
Thank you. But yeah, if I had actual trans representation as a kid, if and it
Mhm.
not just, seeing a character and it just being in their bio, "Oh yeah, I used to be a guy," or "I used to be a girl." Not just anything
Yeah.
like that, but actual representation where it shows them pre and post transition, or it shows them dealing with transphobia, or dealing with dysphoria, or body
Right.
dysmorphia, or any of the other stuff. I feel like it would have served as a beacon, and I wouldn't have gone through the alcoholism, I wouldn't have gone through the copious amounts of self-harm and other stuff that I
Totally.
exposed myself to.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that sit here and say, "Oh, we can't have queer stuff in children's media because they somehow correlate queer things to sex."
Right.
And it's not. Like, if
No.
a little boy having a crush on a little girl isn't sexual, then neither should
Right.
a
What's the
little girl
difference?
having a crush on another little girl or a little boy having a crush on a little boy. Why are
Mhm.
you sexualizing those kids?
Exactly.
Let
Why
kids be
why does sex have
kids.
to have anything to do with it?
Right. And it's like, if you honestly think that all homosexuality, gender identity, all this stuff, if you honestly think it's all just about sex,
That's a
then
you problem.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jeez. And it's so
I'll
hard to
never understand that.
exactly, and it's so hard to put it into words because, like, go and talk to a heterosexual couple and ask them if it's all about sex.
Mhm.
Because if it is, you're probably having some issues, and that's probably not the greatest
Yep.
relationship. Unless
Exactly.
it's a, contract kinda thing, dom sub stuff, what
Right.
floats your boat.
Yeah. We're not here to kink shame.
Right? Nah, get on with your bad self.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it blows my mind that people will sit here and do that. And I don't think they
Yeah.
realize it does hurt the kids by not allowing there to be queer
Yeah.
representation, because self-harm and suicide is rampant in the queer community. People try and
Yeah.
throw the 41% thing at trans people all the time, saying, "Oh, half of y'all kill yourselves." And it's like, no, about 1/6 of us kill ourselves. The
Mhm.
half part is the amount of us that have either attempted or been so
Mhm.
depressed we really honestly wanted to attempt.
Right.
Now,
And
for
it's heartbreaking.
it is, and it's not just the trans community, it's the queer community, especially the further south you go.
Yeah.
And by just having some queer representation in children's media, we equip the kids of the future with something insanely powerful. We give them the words and the tools to be able to go to their parents and say, "Mom, Dad, or whatever your guardian situation is, here's what I'm feeling. Here's what I'm thinking about. Here's what I
Yeah.
need." You give them the power to communicate, and that is the single strongest thing we could ever do for our future generation.
Totally.
Sorry, I just got
Yep.
very passionate for a second.
No, that's good. That's good. That's what we need to do. I mean, by giving the younger generations what we didn't have, we're able to heal that inner child in all of us, to be honest. I mean, I know that when I was growing up, it was difficult, and I know when you were growing up, it was difficult, and it is damaging.
Mhm.
And so by allowing ourselves to help equip the younger generation better than what we were, we're not only helping them, but we're helping us too. Like it's hand in hand.
It really
And
is.
back to what you're talking about with how people sexualize it.
Mhm.
And I know someone is going to identify like relate with this, but when I came out to somebody very very close to me, they basically straight up said I was a pedophile because
Mhm.
I loved the same gender.
Yep.
And they didn't allow me to explain anything. They were just so brainwashed by this ideation that it's all about sex that they allowed themselves to think that of me. And I'm like, you've known me since I was a baby.
Right.
Like, I'm the same person I've been this entire time. And just because I told you this part of me, you've completely changed who I am in your mind because of what society has told you.
Mm.
It was like you're not doing any soul searching yourself. You're just allowing yourself to identify me as something else because what I just told you scares you. And
Right.
you don't understand it. You're not allowing
Exactly.
yourself to understand it. So, I mean, it's all like stop correlating what our sexual orientation is or who we identify as with just sex.
Exactly.
It's not just sex.
It's not.
Especially when we're younger, we don't care about that. We want
Right?
companionship. We want a partner. We want a best friend. It has nothing to do with sex.
Right. Exactly.
I don't
Whenever I was a
understand why
kid, I
people
wasn't
always
thinking about
correlate with
sex.
that.
I was sitting here being afraid of
No.
growing a beard.
Right?
God. I didn't give a
Jeez.
crap about sex. Sex scared the crap.
No.
It scared the hell out of me.
Thinking about kissing another girl scared the hell out of me. I
Right?
wasn't gonna do anything else.
God.
God. This stuff's scary.
Right? God. No, I agree
So,
100%.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I understand completely. Whenever I came out as trans to my family,
Mhm,
well, I've came out to my family twice. The first time was as pansexual whenever I was a teenager.
mhm,
That got me partially disowned. I got a lot of phone calls that week. Um,
mhm.
but then whenever I came out as trans, that's whenever it all kind of coalesced. I still got
Right.
disowned by more of the family, but this time they didn't even bother calling. And whenever I went to family events, people started to leave. I had some people tell their kids not to go near me because I was trans and all this other stuff. And that hurt
Wow.
deeply because, like, I used to
Yeah.
be, and I am going to misgender myself for a sec here, but I used to be the cool uncle. Like, all the kids
Right.
would hang out in my room and play Xbox, and I would read to them, and we would watch TV and all this other stuff. I
Mhm,
liked being a parental figure, and I still do. I love taking care of others.
mhm.
And it hurt so badly to have them
Yeah.
say, "Don't go near her. She's going to do terrible things to you." Whenever I know
Yep.
for a fact I've been put in the situation where I'd be
Mhm.
more than willing to die to protect these kids.
Totally.
And it
Yep.
hurts. And
I
there's
get it.
all these weird misconceptions about how it happens. Like, I remember growing up, I was told growing up by my very conservative and evangelical church that my grandparents made me go to. They
Mhm.
taught us that queer people are queer because of either 1, they were molested or raped as a kid, 2, they were
Right.
groomed by a queer person as a kid,
Mhm.
3, because and these next 2 are off the wall crazy, so just a heads up.
Okay.
3, that they are actually possessed by demons
Oh my god.
or tricked by
I'm sorry.
demons,
Okay.
or 4, and this one is really crazy, I'm gonna wait for you to swallow, okay.
Okay.
Because they died as children and demons possess the body in order to go out and corrupt other people into being queer.
My god.
Right? And it's like
What do these people do with their free time? Like, is this it?
sit at
Oh
home
my
reading
god.
their Bible, being afraid that
Right?
Y2K is about to happen, being afraid that we're gonna come and computer
In their
chip them and
bunker.
turn them gay,
God, they'd be lucky.
right? All the frogs are turning the freaking water gay.
Right.
Um,
God,
and I know that's in the wrong order, that's on purpose.
I
Um,
got you.
but yeah, it hurt as a kid because I would spend
Yeah.
time sitting there thinking, when was I molested? When was I groomed? It made me doubt everyone in my life. It made me feel so unsafe talking to any of the adults, and it
Mhm.
pushed me deeper and deeper and deeper into isolation as a little kid, and it
Yeah.
hurt a lot.
Mhm.
And in addition to that, I got to the point where I honestly thought I was a demon because, like, I have autism, and so
Right.
already being part of normal society felt weird. I felt different and off, and I couldn't empathize and sympathize the way other people do.
Mhm.
And so going through that, seeing how different I was from everyone and how I was constantly trying to pretend to be normal, it made me feel like I was a demon and like I was evil. And it it did so much to my mind. It warped my
Yeah.
mind, and it's taken a lot of therapy to get through that.
Totally.
And
And good for
kids
you
deserve
for going to
better,
therapy though.
right?
That's a fantastic tool that I wish more people had the means to use.
I agree, and I honestly believe that therapy should be normalized for everyone.
I totally agree. Yeah.
So you also mentioned going to a church, uh,
Mhm.
and how pretty much every week they would talk about queer stuff and how bad it is and whatnot. How do you think that
Mhm.
affected you to this day?
I think in when I was younger especially, it made me honestly homophobic
Yeah,
when I was growing up because I pushed down all of my thoughts and feelings because I was like, okay, so there's something wrong with me and I need to get this basically pray the gay away, right?
right.
And it made me homophobic for a little bit during high school because every week this was drilled into my head. It's wrong. It's nasty. It's dirty. It's gross. It's not human. It's immoral. It's all these other
Mhm.
bad connotations associated with being gay. Like as many as they could throw in every Sunday, they would throw it in.
Right.
And finally, I got to the point where I was like, "What the hell am I doing? Like I know who I am,
Mm.
and why am I blindly following this religion that just is full of hatred right now.
Right.
Like there's so much hatred in this book. There's so much hatred in this scripture. And I decided my junior year to do my own research and to have my own relationship with whatever religion I wanted to.
Mhm.
Because at that point, I was just blindly following what my parents were shoving down my throat, right?
Right.
So I think I was very fortunate to have that realization because not many people do. They're
Mhm.
so deep into that religion or whatever that they can't see the way out.
Right.
I was very fortunate where I just had that moment of clarity. But for a long time it was very damaging to myself.
Mhm.
So,
Can I ask, are you still religious and spiritual?
you know,
You don't have to answer
I
if it makes you uncomfortable.
no, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I have over the past few years, I have kind of had my own relationship with God.
Yeah.
And from when I was growing up in church, I was told that he is so full of love and all of this stuff. And so I decided to do my own research on the Bible and do my own research on everything. And I've come to my own terms with things. And I do believe that I still have that relationship. It's just, there's a lot of mending that needs to happen,
Yeah.
basically. But I do find myself to be more spiritual than religious.
I get that. Um,
Yeah.
for me, I found that I have so much trauma surrounding any of the
Hmm.
Abrahamic religions that I really cannot be spiritual or anything whenever it comes to Christianity or anything. I've tried Judaism, I've tried a little bit of Catholicism, really didn't work. And
Mhm.
so it's to the point where I've decided I don't really need a faith or a religion.
Yeah.
And if there is a God out there,
Mhm.
then they obviously either one, don't give a crap about us, so we should just do
Mhm.
our own thing, or two, they really do give a crap about us, in which case we should still do our own thing, because any God that is moral and just, that I would want to please, that I would want to follow, would
Mhm.
obviously not care about sexuality. It wouldn't care
Mhm.
about identity. You know, if there is a God, and it is a loving and caring God that created this
Mhm.
universe and is as divinely intelligent as people make it out to be, like, all of this is so petty. There is
Yeah,
no
I
way it
know.
gives a crap, and if it does, I really don't wanna
Yeah.
follow that being. Like, I'll
Yeah.
pass, have a good day.
Yeah. And that's the problem with how much religion is shoved down everyone's throat.
Mhm.
I mean, it's drilled into your head, especially in the South.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a church on every corner
right?
in our town, you know. And I think you just have to find what works for you and what you feel is true.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with whatever anyone believes in.
I agree.
And I think when you start to think that your religion is the right one, or when your spirituality is the right one, or your theology is the only way in life, then you're failing. You're already losing.
I agree
You
completely.
need to be totally accepting of everybody, no matter who they
Mhm.
are, or what they believe in.
I agree.
Yeah.
Um, so to go back to, like, cartoons and whatnot growing up,
Mhm.
how do you feel about the characters that were kind of stereotypically portrayed as queer, but were never actually made queer? Like, today we call it queer baiting, but we didn't have that word
Mhm.
back then. What do
No.
you feel about characters like that? How did they affect you?
I feel like they were like we talked about earlier. They're made out to be this villain, or the bad guy, or the weird one, or whatever. They were made to be the off person. Like you didn't want to be that person. You wanted to
Right.
be the main character who was straight or whatever, or assumed straight. And
Right.
it just made me sad growing up. Like one, why does everything have to be heterosexual?
Right.
Like when I was growing up, I was like, why can't there be more representation?
Hell, in
And
a
why
lot
when
of
there
kids' media,
is
why do we need romance and shit like that?
right, like why can't we just focus on the story that they're doing and not bring romance into it at all? Like sure, there can be that identity, but why does there have to be romance forced into it? So, I think when there was those characters that were queer baited, that
Mhm.
were portrayed poorly, it kind of sucked, to be honest. It was like, this is just super disappointing. Like,
Mhm.
it's kind of made me sad.
Right? And people will go on and on and on about how, like, kids' media is so full of queer representation, and
Yeah,
I've honestly had someone point to SpongeBob as queer representation, which blew my
yeah,
mind.
yeah,
Um, but the thing is it still happens today, like, everything with, the reboot of Voltron and
right,
how there was a queer character there. His husband came on screen for all of a moment and then immediately gets killed off, and then the main
right,
character more or less moves on like it was nothing.
right.
Like, this happens all the time, and we are constantly shown as, like, these weird, callous others.
Yeah,
Or whenever we are humanized, that part of us is such an incredibly small part. Like, "Oh, yeah, they just happen to be gay."
right,
And, you know, you get these people that walk around and it's like, "I don't mind gay people. I just don't want it being their whole personality." Thing is
right. I don't want them to be too gay,
right,
basically.
and that's
Like,
the
don't
thing.
be too gay.
Yeah, and it's like, "Bruh, so would you sit here and say being heterosexual is your whole identity? Because you sit here all the time talking about, 'Oh, this woman is hot. Oh, this person is like this. Oh, here and this and that.'" And it's like,
Yeah.
"Bruh, you're sitting here falling into the same freaking trap." Like,
Oh, totally.
God. Um, but yeah, queers are treated as if either we're super queer, in which case we get killed off or something like that, or it's such a
Right.
small part of ourselves that it's nothing to even pay attention to.
Yeah.
Which it isn't, it's a whole ass freaking identity, your sexuality and your identity forms a lot of who you are.
Oh, totally.
What is this, a crossover episode? Indeed it is. I call dibs on being Mr. Peanut Butter. I'm not going back to being an alcoholic. Um, okay, so, we got about another 20 minutes until, Topic Tuesday ends, unless one of us goes on another tangent. So, first I'd like to pose a question to those watching. What were y'all's experience with queer representation as kids? I know not everyone here, or at least I don't know if everyone here, but I assume not everyone here is queer. And while they're getting to that in the chat, Smirk, what would
Yeah.
you change? Like, if you could go and design a kid show right now, what would you personally do your best to ensure makes it in?
I just want representation,
Mhm.
like, I want there to be non-binary characters. I want there to be a character who is coming to terms with being transgendered and going through that process, and maybe they have accepting parents or maybe they don't, because unfortunately some people don't have accepting parents or families. And
Like mine.
I want that representation so that they don't feel alone. They don't feel like there's something wrong with them.
That would
You
be
know,
beautiful.
like right, like they deserve to have just as much love and beauty in the world as anyone else.
Mhm.
So I want that representation of people having to go through that journey of not having accepting family, but still getting that community where they're shown love and that they're shown that they're accepted no matter who they are. That's
I
what I
agree.
want.
Something I would definitely like to show in children's media, and that I think would help a lot for the upcoming generation, is I would actually like to show queer individuals realistically. I want to show them
Yeah.
people with dysphoria. I want to show them queers being confused about why they
Mhm.
feel the way they do when everyone else is putting all this pressure on them to be heterosexual.
Mhm.
I want to show the difference between like, oh, this person may be a trans man and this other girl may just be a tomboy. Well, this other AFAB individual may just be a tomboy, and they can be very similar, but just because they have a lot of the same stuff doesn't mean they're the same because they both personally identify different. I
Yeah.
want to show queer folk actually coming to terms with being queer and being different. And even more importantly
Mhm.
than that, I want to show queer folk being strong. I want to show them
Yeah.
finding and making a family.
Yeah.
Because that's something I've noticed, like, and you and I have both done this. Like,
Mhm.
whenever you're so isolated and so alone and your family pushes you so far out, we as humans, we crave that community. And
Oh,
if we
yeah.
can't find it, we'll go out and make our own. And to be honest, the family that I've made, Abby,
Mhm.
Jay, Morgan, you, Michael, like, I would die for any one of y'all. I will
Yeah.
work a ton of extra hours and put in so much extra effort just to ensure each of you have food on the table. Like, I will do
Totally.
so much for y'all.
Mhm.
I would never
And I
do
mean, that's
that
what's
for my
important.
bio family.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
love is
I
way
and
stronger than blood.
totally. And when I came out to my mom, God bless her, good lord, that woman, she flat out told me that I would never be loved. I
Mhm.
would never have a family of my own. I would never have this or that. Like, I would never be accepted. And then I meet the love of my life and I get engaged to her, and she freaking loves the hell out of her.
Right? I
I'm
love it.
like, "So what happened to you 2 years ago where you said I wasn't gonna have anything, like I was gonna die alone, and now you see that it's possible, that I'm happy, I'm taken care of, I'm in the best relationship of my life. Now you realize that there's nothing wrong with it. There was
Mhm.
nothing ever wrong with me. You
Exactly.
just were so consumed in the societal norm and the religion that was shoved in your brain when you were growing up that you allowed yourself to hate your own kid.
Right?
Not hate, hate's strong. To to not accept your kid.
right. And I'm going through
Yeah.
that right now with my mom.
Mhm.
Whenever I first came out, she was more accepting. My dad has his own reasons for being accepting. I'm not going to talk about those on stream.
Okay.
But my mom, over time, she's gotten less and less accepting because people have started filling her head with all this other stuff. She's going
Mhm.
through this crisis where she's acting like she's, oh, I'm losing my manly man son. Oh, you're stealing this from me. Oh,
Mhm.
you're. And she actually said at one point that I'm sending her to an early grave. And this is the first time I got
Mhm.
kicked out of my parents' house because my only response was die quieter. Oh, come on. You remember how freaking mouthy I was?
I remember.
um,
That's fantastic.
but she's getting less and less accepting, and I know she's
Yeah.
gonna disown me soon. And I've already, kind of moved past the point that like, and I've come to terms with this. I'm not saying this for pity, but
Yeah.
I had a lot of debate over whether or not I should change my name. And
Yeah.
after her last episode of her refusing to let me go, screaming into my face that, this is the wrong path, I've been brainwashed, all this other stuff, and that she just wants the old me back, even though the old me was suicidal and an alcoholic and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
Like, I kind of came to terms with the fact that it's okay for me to move on.
Yeah.
And it's okay for me to go to this family that I'm making online and this family that I already have in real life. And it's okay for me to just be me.
Yeah.
I'm still maintaining contact with my brother. He and I have started a new relationship.
Mhm.
As has, and part of the reason he actually reached out to me was it turns out one of his kids is queer. And
Wow.
part of it is he doesn't know what to do. And he's a
Yeah.
little afraid, but he's like, you know what? I have a sibling and I need to rethink some stuff. And he actually went into therapy just so that he can take better care of his kid and so that he can restart a relationship with me. And it's like,
Good for
Mom, look
him.
at this guy. He loves me. But
Yeah.
you,
You're still struggling with this.
right. And so that's why I decided to go ahead and change my name. It's a sign for me that I can move
Yeah.
on and that I got this.
Yeah.
I can be myself.
And that you're loved for who you are.
Right, and so I get it, and you deserve happiness. Like, you and your fiancé are so freaking beautiful. Like, y'all are goals. I can't wait to see y'all get married. I can't wait to see all this. I'm gonna tease the crap out of y'all. I'm gonna send a
Please
jo
do.
I'm gonna send a joke gift to y'all's wedding that I'm sure she's gonna get mad at me for.
No. No. She don't care. She'll be excited for
Uh,
whatever. She
right?
likes gifts.
God, I can't wait for like, honestly, I can't wait in the future for to go okay, so I'm not gonna say her name. You know my girlfriend. I'm not gonna say her name on stream because she
Right.
wants anonymity.
Totally fine.
But I can't wait in the future for you and Smirk Mama to meet up with me and Bryn Squared, and for
I
you
love
and I
that.
to just be sitting at a bar drinking
Oh,
beers
man.
while they're off
Oh,
somewhere doing
man.
something, and we're just sitting there talking like goofy idiots about how much we love
Yep.
them. And the whole
Yep.
time, like, knowing we made this happen, all four of
Mhm.
us got to the point where we can be happy and love ourselves.
Yeah.
And I want the kids of the future, especially in our communities, to see that and see how happy we are.
And that it's totally achievable.
It is, and I am so freaking proud of you for doing everything that you've done. Because you've been told
Thank you, my
so
friend.
much bullshit, but
Yeah.
look at where you are now. You got a
You
beautiful
too.
freaking wife. You got an amazing stream setup, a beautiful community. You're in the medical field. You've helped God knows how many people. And you are just all in all a super strong and wholesome person. So strong, in fact, that you gave me the strength to become who I wanted to be. You are and were a role model to me, even as adults. And I'm so happy that
It's
we got to
totally my
reconnect.
pleasure. Getting to know you and getting to be in your life is one of the best things I could ever ask for.
Well, it's a good thing I'm not going anywhere.
I
After all, I need a meat shield whenever I play video games.
I can do that. I'm good at that. I'm good at taking
uh,
the focus on me.
uh, okay. Well, any closing remarks, any closing views? We got about another 8 minutes.
All I can really think to say is that wherever you are in your life, whatever struggles you're going through, just remember that you are so, so loved and that I'm really glad that you've stayed and that you've pushed through every single day that you've been through so far. No matter what's happening in your life, I promise you it will get better. And if you need help, there are so many resources. I know Bryn would love to help you. I would love to help you. I don't know if you would want to talk to me about it, whoever you are out there, but I am very open to any conversations that you need to have in order to help you. Just remember you're loved, you're important, and I'm super glad you're here.
I agree with Smirk. If you ever need help, please feel free to reach out to me, to reach out to Tran. My mods are amazing, and I have an entire thing dedicated to resources. I have contacts with the Trevor Project. I have contacts in Canada and the UK. I'm trying to get some stuff set up in Germany that I can help more queer folk over there. I promise you, if you need help, I got you. I can help you get therapy. I can help you get HRT. I can help you get out of an abusive situation. I've contacted CPS before. You know, you're gonna be okay. I know it's dark. I know it hurts, but I love you. And I mean that completely and totally and honestly. And if you're watching this and you're one of those people that used to come into my streams and, say all kinds of weird trolling alt-right stuff, which now we have several of those people in Tran going to therapy, getting past all that and being part of this loving community, you can have community that doesn't require you to be hateful and afraid and all this other stuff. And it's okay to show weakness and to be vulnerable. I know it's dark, I know it's depressing, and I know suicide may seem like a easy answer, as does self-harm. I have the scars to prove it, but I also have the scars to show that going on and continuing on will always lead to a happier, better life. If suicide is worth an attempt, then that means that everything before suicide is equally worth an attempt. And you need to try everything else first. Everything. And I would love to help you with that. Please feel free to reach out to the Trevor Project, the suicide hotlines, everything. Please, you are worth the effort. I swear to you right now. Awesome. Well, Smirk, I think this was a pretty good stream. Thank you for joining me on
I think
Topic
so
Tuesday.
too. Of
I'd love to have
course.
you on future ones. You are a very good co-star.
Definitely. I'm down.
Awesome. Okay, well, everyone, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here. Smirk and I will be back after a short break in order to stream Remnant from the Ashes, where we
Woo!
conveniently and accidentally made the same characters.
We did. Oh my god, that's great. So good.
Uh, I love it. So I
Thank you.
love you all. Please feel free to check back whenever you want. We're gonna be streaming on both of our channels, so feel free to check out either channel. And of
Mhm.
course, I will be uploading this Topic Tuesday to YouTube like I do every Wednesday after a Topic Tuesday. So feel free to share it, spread it around to your friends, anyone you think needs it. If you want to support me, you can donate to my Patreon to get a say in what I make. You can buy stuff from the merch store, though most of it is just Tran related stuff, though I am trying to get more queer stuff. Smirk actually has a shirt coming her way that I am so excited to see her wearing. Um,
I'm excited.
I'm not gonna say what it says, because that's gonna be up for
Nope.
her to show off.
Yep.
You can feel free to give small donations to my little tip area in my details section of my Twitch. Or you can just share my stuff around and tell people about me and Smirk. That would help out both of us a hell of a lot.
It's
Uh,
true.
and please, please make sure to check out Smirk's stream. Like, she has some awesome merch. She's an awesome person, has a ton of chill vibes. Her community is freaking great. Cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course, and I appreciate you. I love you all,
Appreciate you, buddy.
and have a good night. You know what? I
Love you.
appreciate you
Bye.
too. Hmm.